Hi and welcome to the mimoLive launch event. I'm so excited to show you what is new in mimoLive. And before we start and before I show you what's new and what's fancy, a little bit of logistics. So if you have questions, we will of course answer them. I will first show you a little bit of what is new in mimoLive, and after that, we will answer questions. As soon as a question pops up, don't hesitate to write them into the chat in YouTube. And Oliver, who is sitting behind the camera, operating all the buttons and operating mimoLive that does the live stream today, will take a look at these questions and will let me know afterwards, and we will go through them one after the other. So you can then, after a presentation, you can also leave if you want. We want to be respectful of your time. And if you want to stick around for the Q&A, feel free to do so, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can. So, without further ado, let's jump right into mimoLive. If you have never heard the word mimoLive, you might have heard of BoinxTV. BoinxTV used to be the successor, or is the successor to mimoLive, and mimoLive is basically the second iteration what used to be mimoLive, and what used to be BoinxTV. I'm sorry about that. mimoLive stands for the multi-in, multi-out live video engine, and it describes what it does quite perfectly. It does multi-in, multi-out, and it is a live video engine. BoinxTV has been around since 2008. We started developing it in 2008, and it has been on the market since 2009, and we had numerous updates. And mimoLive is, well, it is a brand new thing. It is built on much newer technology, and I bet you will love it as much as we do. So I would say we jump right in. Let's take a look at my screen. There we are, and I will launch mimoLive. There we are, and that's the first thing that changed. The welcome window, the new document window, changed a lot, so we focus a little bit more on the previously created work. So you will see all of your documents that you have worked on previously on the right hand side, and if you want to create a new document, you can still choose a template. You can get more templates from our website in the future, and then you can choose a frame rate, any frame rate that you want, and you can also choose your dimensions. You will see that mimoLive comes preloaded with portrait or vertical video resolutions as well, so you can now also easily create content for mobile phones. Most people consume their content on the mobile phones in a vertical orientation, so maybe it might make sense to create it in a vertical way as well. So in this case, we are doing it the classic way and go for 1080p full HD 25 frames a second since we are in Europe, and I create a new document, and you will see the brand new user interface of mimoLive. So let's go from the left to the right. We have sources, we have the layer stack right next to it, then we have the settings of the currently selected layer, and on the right hand side we have the playout. So first let's select a different camera. And this is something that is completely new as well. We can now support the Blackmagic Design SDK natively. So there is no more relying on drivers that may or may be not supported by Blackmagic. You can now access all the Blackmagic hardware, all the Blackmagic ingestion hardware right there, and you can also set it up. So if your camera does not do SDI but HDMI, you can now change to a different input if you want to, and you can also change resolution and frame rate. The best thing is we do that automatically. So as soon as you select a Blackmagic input device, we do auto detection, and in most of the cases that's already it for you, and you don't have to do anything else. So I just connected my Ultra Studio Mini recorder that has a camera connected to it, and well, now I can go on if I want to. So I could also add more sources if I wanted to, and mimoLive comes with a lot of new sources. So as I just said, we next to default cameras that we still support. So if you have a USB webcam, a USB video grabber, or something that used to work, it's still gonna work here in the general video tab. Then we do have the Blackmagic Design video that we just told you. We also are able to bring in an iOS device as its own input. I will show you that later on you can still get it audio, media files, screen capture. We now have window capture exclusively, so you can now capture a single window, which is amazing if you want, for example, to bring in Skype. Then you can capture a single window and crop it within the settings of the source, so you can crop it just, for example, to the Skype video. We can also bring in motion JPEG from a webcam, for example, and we can also get in data using Siphon, which is used in VJing a lot. So right now we have one camera. We like this camera, so I can wave to it. Hi there. And now let's jump a little bit to the right and add new layers, because layers is like the central element of mimoLive, and adding layers has changed a little bit. So to get in a new layer, all you have to do is click the little plus button above the layer stack and then think about what do you want to add. So maybe I want to add a lower third. So I just type in what I want, I find the lower third, add it in, enable it, boom, there we have a lower third. Do you see? Maybe you can see it, I don't know. We do not have frosted glass backgrounds. We have blurring in many of the backgrounds of the layers, which is a kind of popular thing now, and you have it right inside of mimoLive now as well. The layer concept still works as before. So if you're not familiar with the layer concept, it works just like in Photoshop. So if something is above another layer, it's gonna be in front of it visually. If it is below something, it's gonna be behind it. So this is just a concept that is known from graphics application since ages, or for ages. I'm sorry about that. So that is something that hasn't changed, because that is something our users just love, because it's easy to set up your visuals. So I just added a lower third. Maybe I want to adjust this lower third a little bit, and this is where the next brand new thing in mimoLive comes. So let's say this lower third needs it. It's not even a third, so let's make it a third. We used to use the dials and numeric values to adjust everything. What we can do now is just use the mouse, go here directly into the preview, and adjust the lower third. If that is too small for you, we can just enlarge the preview. Let's do that, and adjust the lower third here. Now the logo needs to be larger as well, so don't worry about that. We've got you covered there. Let's adjust the logo. You can't see it actually, so let's make this a little smaller. You can adjust the logo here, and just as with the logo, you can also move the text around. And this direct manipulation works everywhere, and every layer gives you the possibility to move stuff around. So let's add a logo and try the same thing. We add the station logo, enable it, and just by clicking and dragging, we can manipulate everything right in its place. So there is no more fiddling with numbers, but if you want to, you can still adjust everything manually by going into the nitty-gritty details of the numeric values. So let's turn off the giant lower half that it has become. So I added a lower third, I added a station logo. So the next thing is, we have direct manipulation not just in layers, we also have direct manipulation in filters. So let's filter a camera. Filtering cameras has also changed. So if you select the source, you will find the little FX button on the top right of it. So we can add a filter to a source. So in this case, I want to chroma key. So I hit the chroma keying button, and you will see it applied a filter to the camera. You can adjust more, you can add more than one filter to a camera. In fact, you can add as much filters as you want to one single camera. Well, now the chroma key does not look the way I want it yet. So what I do is I click the gear right next to it, and the setup for the chroma key opens. Let's enlarge this a little bit. So to select the background color, all I have to do is click where my background is. So I can click and drag, and mimoLive will update the color value. So I think that's about right. So let's see what color values to actually crop. I just grab it right in place, drag it over. Same thing with the right hand side. So for demonstration purposes, that's probably already enough. I can also check the feather if I want to. Yeah, that's everything is fine. Actually, let's add a background color as well. So I just add a nice blue color in this case. And there we go. I just created a chroma key source. Well, of course, my iPad has a little bit of a reflection to it, but well, that's just the way glass works. So this is how I chroma key something just by using direct manipulation as well. So it doesn't get any easier than this. And you see we have a brilliant chroma key with this, and all I had to do was click a couple of times. So I added a chroma key here, and now let's go to the next thing. We got stuff in, so we have the multi-import part of mimoLive already covered. So let's take a look at the output side of things, and this is what the top right corner is about. So something that has always worked in BoinxTV is recording to disk, and of course that still works, and it got even better. So we can now configure the recording, and we have different flavors of codecs. Well, we of course support the ProRes codec, and to be quite honest, we recommend using the ProRes codec all over the place. So by default, mimoLive records in ProRes 422. You can also change this to H.264, or you can use another ProRes flavor. So let's switch to ProRes 4444, which, and that is the new grand thing, also supports an alpha channel. If I now turn off my camera, let's, well, add a different background so we see the transparency better. So let's make this a little bit more transparent. And let's start the recording. I enable the lower third, wait for a second, disable the lower third again, and stop my recording. If I now take a look at the recording that I just created, we will see that this recording has transparency. So I can now use my motion graphics that I just created in mimoLive, for example in Final Cut Pro or in Premiere, for example. Like this, it is super easy to post-produce something with, for example, a lower third that is super easy to create and to customize using mimoLive. So whenever you wanted some visuals that you created in BoinxTV in your nonlinear video editor, you can do that now with mimoLive by selecting ProRes 4444 as the codec. Let's switch back to 422, re-enable the camera. There we are. And well, let's jump ahead because this is probably the thing most of you have been waiting for. Of course, mimoLive now comes with built-in streaming. Built-in streaming, and it works just great. So the next button we find here is the streaming button. Right now it's disabled because we have not configured it yet, and this would be the thing you have to do to start streaming using mimoLive. So we click the drop down right next to it, and now mimoLive asks us for the info to enter here. So the first thing we need to enter is the ingest server, and you will get that from your streaming from your video streaming provider. So we support, like for example, YouTube, we support Facebook, we support Ustream, Twitch, and pretty much anything that's based on Wowza and or that's based on RTMP. So if you have a streaming service that uses RTMP, and pretty much every streaming service out there does this, you will get an ingest server and the next thing, a stream key to connect to your stream. And like this, all you have to do is you enter the details here, then you can, if you want, adjust the settings of your stream, and then you just hit go live and you're live. And I just mentioned we are now able to stream to Facebook as well. Facebook streaming is something brand new, and we try to make it as easy as possible. So all you do is you click Facebook Assistant. mimoLive will also mention if the resolution that you set up is too high and will change the streaming resolution to conform to Facebook's regulations. Okay. I want to be signed in with mimoLive all the time. Okay, so now I can stream to Facebook. I will share it on my timeline. Let's wait a second. We see this encoder starts. Yep, it streams. Of course, I wanted to allow it. And now let's wait for a second. Of course, Flash crashed. For some reason, Facebook still requires Flash. Don't worry about it. if Flash crashes, it will still work. So the last thing I want to check. Yeah, only me can see it, so that is quite important now because my friends will probably be quite irritated by that. So I can click Go Live, and after a couple of seconds, this will be on Facebook. Well, the downside is I'm not able to see it because I can see my own streams, but we are now streaming live to Facebook. And well, this is something you can do now right inside of mimoLive without extensive configuration. And mimoLive takes care of creating the live streaming event and sending it out to Facebook, and as well as to YouTube and the other providers named before. The next thing that is really big is playout. So we are now able to play out graphics and video to external devices. So in this case, for example, I have connected an Ultra Studio 4K to my computer. What the Ultra Studio 4K does, it does input, but it also does output. So I connected an SDI cable to my Ultra Studio 4K, and I could play out everything. Let's choose 1080i50, for example. So I could play out everything to an ATEM switcher, for example. So if we now switch over to the view of the ATEM switcher for a second, then you will see that I'm right now playing out the entire signal to the ATEM switcher. So we need to show the ATEM switcher. Oliver, ATEM switcher, please. Takes a second to go there. So right now, I'm playing out the entire signal to the ATEM. Ignore the top right for now. I will explain this in a second. So right now, I'm just playing out using SDI. And what this means is that I can now send the produced content in its entirety out to, for example, a broadcast system. So you see at the bottom, this is what the Ultra Studio 4K plays out right now. But this is gonna get even better, because what we are doing right now is we just sent the fill signal. With something like an Ultra Studio 4K, Ultra Studio 4K Extreme, or a Decklink 4K Extreme, you can now also play out fill and key. So let me change that. I think we need to jump back to the computer for a second. And what I can do now, and this makes it super amazing, you can now send graphics, motion graphics, to your switcher, including fill and key. So you can add an alpha signal. So I'm selecting my Ultra Studio 4K, I'm selecting my video format, and I'm gonna tell my Ultra Studio to do the keying externally. So if we now go back to the ATEM switcher, you will see now we do have the fill signal and the key signal. Right now the key signal is just white, but I will show you in a second how this could differ. So let's quickly open a different document that I prepared in advance to show you something even better. So I choose my Ultra Studio, 1080i50, external keying, and we are back. There we are. Bam. So let's enable a station logo. And you already see on the bottom left, you see the actual logo, and on the bottom right of the middle, you see just the alpha channel. I can do the same thing with the lower third, for example. So enabling the lower third, and you will see there are transparencies behind it, semi-transparencies. Let's add a new scroller, and you will see it's now blue and still has transparencies. And since I am such a huge Justin Bieber fanboy, I can now also enable my Twitter search for Justin and show the world how much of a Justin Bieber fan I am. And all of this, including transparency. Like this, it is able to bring pretty much anything into traditional broadcasting just by sending two signals into your switcher, just with an external playout device. So that is something that is brand new, just like streaming in mimoLive. And of course, and I think that wraps up the playout part. And of course, you are still able to do full screen playout to an external screen or a projector, something we do right here so I can see myself and see if everything is going right. So that is still something that has been possible before and is still possible. And the best thing is, of course, all of these outputs still operate simultaneously. So if you want to stream to Facebook while recording to disk, playing to your broadcast system, and put it on a projector so the host can see it, or put it on a screen so the host can see it, you can do that all at the same time if the computer is powerful enough. So that's the new features. Just to recap them a little bit, so you get what has been added to mimoLive. So we have a completely redesigned user interface. We have the left to right approach, from left the inputs, right to the outputs. We have, and this is huge, 64-bit support, so we're not limited to 4 gigabytes of RAM anymore. If you need to bring in videos, if you need to chroma key a lot of cameras, and if you need to play with media a lot, don't worry about it. As much memory as your computer has, mimoLive will be able to grab it and to use it in its entirety. And we do have streaming built in. So streaming to everything that does RTMP, like YouTube, like Facebook, like Ustream, Twitch, I don't know, everything based on browser. So everything that does RTMP is supported by mimoLive. We do have direct manipulation that makes it even easier to adjust everything on screen, from layers to chroma keying. And we do have SDA playout, single channel or dual channel, and we do have ingest and visualization of external data, for example from the Internet of Things. There is, for example, an additional layer you can buy that reads data from a weather station. You can just mount on your roof and get all the data in there. And we can do iOS capture. That is something that I didn't even show you because I was so excited about everything else. So you can just connect an iPhone, for example. Let's just show this. I will just show this to you because I'm so amazed by this. So I just brought in my phone. I can add my phone there. Let's turn off all the other clutter right now. Enable my phone. Hello. And it doesn't like me anymore. So let's connect my phone. Of course, it doesn't work. We get audio from it. That is, well, that's half of the great thing. And we don't get video for some. Yeah, but the iPhone doesn't recognize it. Normally it should show me a blue status bar. So you just have to believe me. It just worked when I tried it out, and then I opened a new document. So you are able to play out, to show your iPhone screen to your audience just by connecting it over USB. So like this you can show games, like this you can show apps, you can showcase apps, and including, oh, I think we have okay, maybe I broke the cable, who knows. So you're now also able to show off everything that goes on in iOS just by using a lightning cable, no extra capturing hardware required. And something that's also new when we're talking about capturing is window capture, to bring in standalone applications like video chat applications, for example Skype, and you can crop and adjust them so they show just the parts that you care about. So that wraps up all the new stuff that we have in mimoLive. And the last thing is, what is this going to cost me? To make sure we can bring you the newest stuff whenever it is available, we switched to a subscription-based license model. And there are different editions for different people. We have the personal version, we have an educational version, we have a commercial version, and a broadcast version. The difference is that the commercial and the broadcast version include the fill and key support over SDI, not just fill. And the commercial and broadcast versions mainly differ in the amount of support and extras that you get, for example, like custom layers or custom templates if you want. To give you an idea about the pricing, the personal and education version, if you want to get the monthly, just maybe month by month, is $19 a month. The commercial version is $69 a month, and the broadcast version is $199 a month. If you want to get them yearly, personal and education is $199, commercial is $699, and broadcast is $19.99. If you go for 3 yearly, of course, the prices for the individual month drops even further. So that just means we don't have to hold back on new features. There is new stuff gonna come out. Let me tell you something about what's coming up in the future. So there is, I heard 360-degree cameras they are the hot stuff right now. And well, some people might want to do 360-degree live streams, including placing of objects in 360 space. So maybe someone will add that in the very soon future. So that's the licensing model of mimoLive. And that also wraps up in record time, 25 minutes. That wraps up the presentation that I want to show you, all the great new stuff that I want to show you. And if you have questions now, and Oliver will probably tell me if there are questions, then you can ask them now. And we will be here to answer them. If you have to leave right now, it might be in the morning over where you are, or just right after lunch. And thank you so much for tuning in. You can, of course, download a demo version from boinx.com/mimoLive, and you will also see on the beautiful mimoLive website, you will see all the brand new features that mimoLive has and how that works. And just try it out yourself. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask our support team. They will be happy to help you getting started using mimoLive and sort out any questions that you might have. And if you still want to stay for the Q&A, please do and ask your questions. We will try to answer as many as we can. So do we have any questions?
So now
we do.
Voice from the off.
Oh.
Welcome everybody. I'm Oliver. I'm the CEO of Boinx Software. I'm reading the chat and transferring your questions to Bastian. So Bastian, to get us started, one thing I want to know is, if I don't want to use a streaming service, what are my options?
So you can, of course, be your own streaming service. So there is the option of just licensing, for example, Wowza, and put that on your own machine, or get a Wowza in the cloud running on Amazon, or you can set up, for example, Nginx, including the RTMP module on any server in the cloud, or even on your local machine. For example, I do have a Wowza running on this machine locally, so if I just need to stream to a local network, that is something I can do from here. So you will need some kind of streaming server, that is required, but there are easy solutions to get those, and there are also very inexpensive solutions to get those. And if you don't want to go to one of the big ones, there are tons of small streaming providers that will give you the same thing, more or less the same thing that the big ones do, without maybe the big transfer limits, but they will do the same thing for you. But you will need some kind of streaming service, either in the cloud or locally, if you just want to stream locally to your network.
So more questions. I'm scanning the chat from the beginning so that we don't miss anything. The specs, minimum requirements for your computer.
That is a very good question, and it is relatively easy and complex at the same time to answer. So first, we require at least macOS 10.10 Yosemite to run mimoLive, since we are building upon a lot of very new architecture and very new features of OS 10. So I almost said iOS 10. So OS 10, 10.10 Yosemite. For the computer, well, of course, to run Yosemite, you need a 64-bit computer, and you will need that for mimoLive as well. You will need something considerably fast, depending on the amount of cameras you want to use. So, for example, I do have a MacBook Pro Retina from the year 2012, and it still does two cameras, full HD cameras, quite well. If you want to do more, if you want to connect 6 cameras, for example, you will need a Mac Pro, because it A, has the horsepower, and B, has the connections. If you want to do the graphics generation alone, though, and if you don't want to ingest any cameras, a Mac Mini will actually do. It depends on the graphics card that is built in. The better the graphics card is, and the more graphics memory it has, the better it is, because that is how mimoLive does its video processing. So it is a little bit tricky to give you a straight answer on this. So anything that runs 10.10 will also run mimoLive, depending on what you want to do with it. So the the requirements scale with, and the requirements to the machine scale with the requirements you have for your production.
All right. So another question from the chat. I would love it if Apple Immediate Codec was available as an output format.
Which codec?
Apple Intermediate Codec.
So yeah, the thing is, it's not like we said we are dumping AIC because we don't like it anymore. The thing is, we switched from using QuickTime to a new technology, and the new technology writes ProRes and H.264. But on the same, while it just does those two formats, it is a lot more efficient doing that. So this is why we ditched quote unquote ditched AIC for mimoLive over the others. ProRes gives you a lot better image quality, and if you want smaller file sizes, switch to and don't care so much about the compression and image quality, I would recommend switching to ProRes 422 LT, which is the lower quality version of ProRes. It will still generate bigger files than Apple Intermediate Codec, but that is probably the better way to go. And if you have something like MPEG Streamclip installed, you can still re-encode the ProRes recordings to AIC afterwards if you want to.
Next question. How do you ingest a PowerPoint presentation live?
So that there are a couple of ways to do that. So the easiest way is getting an input device that captures a second computer that runs the PowerPoint presentation. So for example, there are capture boxes from Epiphan or Magewell that take an HDMI stream, for example, in, so you can connect a secondary computer, and they are pretty inexpensive nowadays. So you can get for $200 to $300, probably $300 is probably the range you want to go for. You can get like the Magewell box and get the data stream into your computer, and it will just show up as a different as another camera. This is the same thing we are doing right now. I'm connecting my computer using an HDMI cable. It runs over to the Mac Pro in this case into an Epiphan box, and the ATEM switcher goes into the Magewell box, so we're getting external sources in. You could also open up a secondary screen and do the presentation there, and then do window or screen capture on the secondary screen. I'm not sure if I would want to do that, because that means you have to switch back and forth from mimoLive and PowerPoint, since you won't be able to use a clicker, since the clicker just sends the signal to go to the next slide to the frontmost application. And in many cases, this would probably be mimoLive.
Okay, next question. Do we support livestream.com?
Well, livestream.com, we would love to support livestream.com. The downside is either livestream.com does not do RTMP, or they hide it very well. They don't give us access to their streaming destination. So as I said, we would love to support them all, and well, we asked kindly, but so far we were not able to stream to their service. Maybe they are doing something different, and well, that's why you won't be able to stream to livestream.com using mimoLive. But that's pretty much the only platform, to be quite honest. More questions?
Yeah, I need to scan.
Okay, take your
chat.
time. We're not in a hurry. I saved us a lot of time in the beginning.
Does this mimoLive provide a place where you can list your contacts to activate for your own personal live stream video to reach them?
So right now, how streaming works in mimoLive is you have your document, and the document saves the streaming information. So for example, if you want to stream to YouTube, for example, YouTube stream now, then it's always the same information, and you save that in the document where you want to stream to that you want to stream to YouTube. So, and if you want to stream to Facebook, then this could either be a different document, or you overwrite the data that is inside of the document. So right now we don't have a streaming endpoint management solution right now, because it's all document based. The big advantage from this is that you can create your document on a computer A, and then, for example, on your mobile computer, and then go to the Mac Pro in the studio, and just by copying over the document, you also copy over the streaming information. So what you can do then is just copy the document over, open it up, and hit go live, and you're live without digging into the streaming information. If that is something that's interesting for you, though, just let us know. We're always interested in what you think about mimoLive and about our applications in general to make them better.
Next question: can you stream to multiple device service? No, sorry. Can you stream to multiple servers at the same time?
So right now, streaming is limited to just one service at a time and just to one endpoint at a time. What we want to do is in the future, we want to first add a backup endpoint, so you can send to YouTube primary and YouTube secondary at the same time, just in case something goes wrong. If it is, as I just said, if it is important to you to stream to more than one endpoint or one service at a time, please let us know, and please also let us know why that is important to you, because that's always interesting to learn why someone wants something.
So, next question. To one viewer, it's unclear when you need an external switcher.
Can you please repeat? I'm not sure if I got it.
To one viewer wonders when do you need to use
an ATEM switcher,
external switcher?
Okay.
An ATEM switcher.
So let's say you're running a mobile production. You're running off a MacBook Pro, but you want to do a production that requires 6 cameras, that requires 12 cameras. You will not be able to connect them to your computer. So if you want to take off the load of your computer, you want to reduce the ingest load of your computer, then you can do that by adding an additional switcher in front of your computer, just to reduce the load. The other way around is for the playout part of things. So if you already have a system that does all camera ingestion, that has you already have a director that tells you, now please camera 4, camera 6, camera 8, and you just want to add lower thirds, you just want to add Twitter, for example, then you want the playout capabilities of mimoLive. So there are 2 different ways to use a switcher in conjunction with mimoLive, and they both might make sense depending on the individual use case, if that makes sense.
So a couple of viewers ask us to be brave and try the new cable for iOS.
I'm just rebooting my phone just to be sure, because the cable looks a little bit broken here, but maybe it still works because it still vibrates when I turn it on. So give me a second. I'm working on this while we speak. So maybe I can show you something in a couple of seconds. Any more questions in the meantime?
Yes. Is there a limit on audio channels?
Well, yes and no. The output is always gonna be stereo. So if you want to record something, if you want to stream something, it's always, for now, gonna be stereo. If you want to ingest audio, though, then you can add multiple channels. So if you now add an audio device, like a mixing board, for example, mimoLive will see all of its inputs. And you can now create multiple input devices, for example, multiple input devices, let's just put it that way, audio input devices that, for example, audio input device 1 holds channel 1 and 2. And audio input device 2 holds channel 2 and 3. So you are now able to configure the way the channels end up in the stereo mix for each channel alone. So you're not limited to 2 channels per audio device anymore.
So while I have to fix my Wi-Fi connection, the question. Does it support IP cameras?
Yes, I said in the very beginning. Maybe I just missed it because I just flew over it very briefly. So in the sources menu, you can now choose from multiple different inputs. One of the inputs is motion JPEG, and most of if we switch over to my computer real quick. And while we do that, I will show you another great side feature of mimoLive. I just created a new camera. I froze. So let's retry that. Does it work again? It works again. So I just went to plus on the sources. I selected motion JPEG, and we will see in the preview that we are getting video from some webcam. And now I can just use the source, drag it into my layer stack, and now we have a live video stream. I have to admit, I don't know from where it is, but we do have a live video stream from a webcam. So as long as the webcam supports motion JPEG, you can use the webcam in mimoLive just by entering the motion JPEG server URL and, well, the motion JPEG URL into the settings of the motion JPEG source.
It seems I missed a lot of questions.
Well, we are here. We're going to answer them.
What will happen to the beta versions?
So if we will, well, to just take a step back. With never before we have done such an extensive and long beta test as with mimoLive. We wanted to make sure we get it right from the beginning. So at first, thanks everyone for beta testing and for giving us feedback, and every email that we got with your feedback helped making the product better. So that is one important thing to say about it. And we will not stop here. So for every new feature that comes out, for every new version that comes out, every new major version, there will be beta versions. So as soon as you're a mimoLive user, you can always download the newest beta versions and try them out and let us know what you think of them or how we can improve them. We want you to be in the boat with us to make this as good as possible. Of course, you probably want to use the stable versions for actual production, and just play with the beta versions if you have time. We will really appreciate this, and this will make the software a lot better if you help us with this.
All right. Are you going to have a directory of mimoLive shows to advertise teams using mimoLive for their broadcasts?
That is a really good question and a really good idea. We have never thought of that before, but it actually makes sense. So we will take a note. Let's just put it that way.
Does the auto render feature still exist? For example, create a compressed version of the recording after ending.
No, not in this way. So what we do is when you record something and you stop the recording list pops up. So if we switch back to the computer real quick, then we see the recording list. What you can do though in the recording list is you can share the video, and you can also share it to other applications that support sharing. So if you have a recompression application that does this, then you can just add it to this, or you just open in the Finder and recompress from there. Something we learned in BoinxTV with this auto recompression functionality was that many users thought this was required. So they thought after a recording, it was required to sit there and wait for BoinxTV to recompress the currently recorded video. So that is something that we took out. So people see that the moment they hit stop, the recording is done and they can do whatever they want with the video. And in this case, this might also mean re-encoding it to something else. To be quite honest, for H.264 video compression, which is what you want, or H.265 for the future, which is what you want to do, all of the encoders we could ship with mimoLive, which basically is the Apple encoder, all of those encoders are not as good as if, for example, you're getting something like FFmpeg to re-encode your videos. FFmpeg is a lot faster to re-encode the videos, and if you get something easy like iFFmpeg or Handbrake to re-encode your videos, we would highly recommend just using those for speedier recompression of your videos, and they also do H.265, which is probably the future.
So, next question. I would love to see a detailed demonstration of how to handle Skype FaceTime interviews. The audio in particular always trips me.
Okay, I don't know.
I think we should handle that in a separate session.
Yeah,
huh?
that's what I wanted to say. The thing is, it's gonna take a while to show you what elements play together here. It is once you understood how it works, it is not really complicated. So just to give you a short answer, what you want to do is a combination of video capture and a virtual audio router like Soundflower or Rogue Amoeba's Loopback to get audio from Skype into mimoLive without any problem. By the way, Loopback I can highly recommend for that because you can create multiple virtual audio devices that play audio in different directions, and that will help you doing something like this in a very elegant way.
Okay, next question. Is the live camera switcher layer still limited to 4 sources?
Right now, it is limited to 4 sources, but that is something that we will change in the future because we want this to be a little bit more flexible. Stay tuned here. So it is going to change.
Will you create mimoLive plugins for outside products to input? I guess this means SDK support for other vendors than Blackmagic or maybe Siphon?
So if that is the question, if not, please clarify. So we will of course add support for other input devices. So in the future there's gonna be a support for example AJ devices. Through something like Siphon, we can ingest video data from other sources than just a regular application. But so far, I could not think of anything that applies to what you just asked. Maybe rephrase the question so I can understand it better, if that is possible.
In the meantime, the next question, how about OS 10 El Capitan, not Yosemite?
Yeah, sure. Everything above 10.10 Yosemite works. So if you're running El Capitan, you're going to be fine. Our development mainly runs on El Capitan. So El Capitan is fully supported. We still support 10.10 though, so that is not going to be a problem.
Mr. Weather Guy asks, can you demo the new weather layers, please?
Oh, sure I can. Well, if we have a weather guy in the audience, he probably appreciates that a lot, and I would love to do so. So let's get my camera going again. And we shipped new weather layers, and you might know that BoinxTV shipped with a weather layer for Germany, which was super handy if we ever wanted to do a weather show that we never did. But it was limited to weather. So where is the weather? Hello? Achim, what happened to the weather stuff? Where did it go? I will come back to that in a second because I don't know where the weather stuff has went. So I have not forgotten you, and I want to show you that because they are pretty sweet. In the meantime, please, Achim, if you're watching, please text me. I can watch my phone. So more questions?
Yes, more questions. My only problem was connecting my Sony Handycam. I had to rent the Blackmagic device, which was very expensive. How can I link the cam directly to macOS 10?
You can't. The simple question is you can't. Pretty much every new quote unquote new camcorder that has a USB interface will not deliver video over the USB interface. You will be able to download the recorded data from it using mass storage or other protocols, but you will not be able to get live video data into any application from it. So that is something that is not possible. So you will need something like a Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, which is, by the way, very inexpensive. So a mini recorder sets you back $150, and you need then in addition to that, a Thunderbolt cable, and then you will be able to connect everything that has HDMI or SDI to your computer and ingest it. Just the way I do it right now, or we do it right now, every camera that we are running here is running into a Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. And if a renting place charges you more than $10 a day for a mini recorder, they are ripping you off.
But we can also use USB 3 devices,
Sure,
like the Magwell stuff and the AJU tab.
yeah, sure, absolutely, absolutely. That is still possible, and yeah, something you can do.
Would a 2016 Mac quad-core i7, 16 gigabytes of RAM with SSD, do graphics and 2 cameras?
So depending on what that did it specify the model of the Mac?
No.
So if it is an iMac, you're good to go. Have fun with your iMac and mimoLive. If it is a Mac Mini, it might work, sort of, but well, the Mac Mini is just a little underpowered for this.
Do you still support external hardware keyboard as a switcher?
Well, the thing is, mimoLive still supports keyboard shortcuts. So you can still assign a keyboard shortcut to any layer, to any action inside of mimoLive. So if you have an external keyboard, a specialized keyboard, you can still do that. You can also still use a third-party iPad app or iPhone app like Quadro to do the same thing, to send keyboard shortcuts to mimoLive. So that still works, both of the options, either a physical keyboard or a virtual one like Quadro.
So, more questions. On the live switcher preview, I can monitor 3 cameras. The 4th quadrant is layers below. Would love to be able to monitor the 4th camera rather than see layers below. Possible?
Yes. Well, with a trick right now. So, I did tell you about Siphon, did I? So Siphon is not just built in as a receiver in mimoLive, but also as a sender. So there's a trick I will show you, and if you promise me to never tell it to someone. So let's add a video switcher. Enable the video switcher, and well, you see the problem that was just mentioned. You don't see layers below for now. So something you can do is search for Siphon, and add the video sender just in between. Now enable the video sender. So Siphon, let's see if maybe I don't have it installed here on this computer, on the demo computer. So what you can do is, let's just do this together. If you have time, I will take the time to do it. Siphon Mac. So we are looking for Siphon. And on the Siphon webpage, there is the simple server and client. We will have a modified version of this very soon in the manual, because you will be able to do even more with it. Open the simple client. This is all very German. I apologize for that. So, and in the simple client, you can select mimoLive, and this shows you the currently. Let's make the window a little bit smaller. So this shows you the camera underneath the video switcher. So like this, you see all the 4 inputs at the same time, and we know you want more, and we heard you. Let's put it that way. So about the weather layer, something that I that I totally forgot because I use it all the time, but that is because I'm using a development version of mimoLive. The new weather layers are not in the shipping product. So you will be able to get them from the layer store in a very short time, but I can still demo them to you once we have figured out how Achim is gonna get them to me, because he's not in the office right here. So we need to find a way to get those to me, and we will be able to show them in a minute or two. I hope so, at least. So more questions.
Do you support Elgato Game Capture HD?
We would love to. So far, we are unable to access the data that comes from the Elgato Game Capture HD. So that is not possible right now. All the other HDMI capture devices, like a Blackmagic mini recorder, Ultra Studio mini recorder, or the before mentioned USB capture hardware does work though. So in the meantime, I'm trying to open this, the weather layers. It's not that easy apparently to get it from the phone. But still, do we have more questions? If so,
one guy asks, what about one day removing the necessity to use CamTwist for live stream sites like blab.im to connect?
okay, I have to admit I don't know blab.im. So, are these sites that take in a camera, like Skype, for example? So please answer this.
Maybe.
So, because if that is the case, we know about that, and we will take care of this in the future. That's not possible right now, but we know that this is something that many people want.
For portable production, they use a MacBook Pro with 2 Thunderbolt inputs. I would love to add a third camera. Is there a recommended way to do so?
Well, you can use the before mentioned USB capture devices. So for example, as I said, the Magewell USB 3 capture device that does HDMI on the one side and USB 3 on the other side works amazingly for that. So you can just connect your third camera to the Magewell product, or just use USB capture devices to do the capturing if you prefer that. That just works. So you can either mix and match between the mini recorders and, for example, the Magewell device, or do just USB 3. To give you a little status update on everything else right now, you know how great AirDrop just works? It's all a lie. It just does not work. I'm trying to AirDrop something from the one user to the other one, and from the one device to the other, and it doesn't work.
So am I able to control the ATEM switcher from mimoLive?
You still are able to control the ATEM switcher from mimoLive. There is still the third party, the additional ATEM controller layer that you can purchase from the buy page, that allows you to control the ATEM switcher from within mimoLive as it was before in BoinxTV.
Do you know what mix minus buses are?
For audio?
I guess there's one comment. Is there a way to do mix minus buses for Skype cats? I mean, I think he seems chats.
No. You would. I would, to be quite honest, prefer Skype cats though. But for Skype chats, no. The question. Let me just think about it for a second. No, it is not. So you would have to do a mix minus in an external mixing device. So if you have a mixer and you would run the Skype through the mixer, you could do that externally. I will talk to our audio genius Benny about that. If this is something that would be technically possible to do this in software somehow, because I agree this is something that sounds interesting enough and useful enough to do this actually for Skype capture.
So, can I essentially do a weather show live from the green screen while changing in the maps to Facebook or YouTube?
Can you please repeat?
Yeah, I think yes. The answer is probably
okay.
Yes.
Oliver says the answer is yes.
Is there a way to get a lifetime license instead of a license that expires every year?
If you want to get this, please get in touch with our sales department, so we can probably work out something that will help you there. So right now the preferred model is subscription though.
Can I input multiple cameras through a Thunderbolt hub?
If there was something like a Thunderbolt hub, you would be, but there isn't. The Intel spec on Thunderbolt just does not foresee something like a Thunderbolt hub. So some capture devices, for example, like the Ultra Studio 4K, maybe you have seen. I only have one cable connected here. The Ultra Studio 4K has a loop through for Thunderbolt. So that means you're able to connect a second Thunderbolt device to the end of the Ultra Studio 4K. And this gives you the possibility to attach a secondary or a third if you have, for example, 3 Ultra Studios to your computer. On the downside, the affordable ones like the Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, they do not offer Thunderbolt pass-through. So that means one Ultra Studio Mini Recorder means you need one Thunderbolt bus.
All right, we are now approaching an hour in this broadcast. So I think, how are we looking with the weather demo and the iOS demo?
Well, for the iOS, I cannot tell you yet, but the reason I was looking into my computer quite often within the last couple of minutes is that I think I've got the weather stuff. Yeah, I can show you the weather stuff that you will be able to get very soon, and it's amazing. So yeah, we already switched over to mimoLive, and so let's first add the weather. Let's add the weather map. It is amazing. You will see in a second. It will blow your socks off. So let's enable the weather map for now. So right now it comes with a map for the US, but you can just grab any map that you want, and it doesn't matter how it looks. Just whatever map you will need, just put it in there. It's just a graphic. A PNG graphic, for example, also has transparency. You can just get the map from wherever you want. You might now ask, how do I put weather on there? And this is, so please hold on to your socks because this is amazing. So let's say in San Francisco, it's always rainy in San Francisco. So we just, is this about where San Francisco is? Ish, yeah. So I just dragged over a rainy cloud to where San Francisco is. And to be quite honest, it is quite cold in San Francisco today. So I just put the amount of degrees there, and it is freezing there. So right now it's Celsius, so don't worry, it's not like everything's frozen. Right now we have Celsius. If we prefer a Fahrenheit though, we can just go in there and switch to Fahrenheit. So we have 41 Fahrenheit there. And the same goes for, I don't know, okay, we have like a twister here in in some state that I just don't remember. I'm so sorry about that. And of course, over there on the East Coast, we have a thunderstorm. It is super cold there as well. But of course, in Texas, it is sunny and super hot because that's how Texas rolls. So this is, and high pressure, low pressure, that's also possible. That probably does not make any sense, the entire map. So all the weathermen out there, I apologize. This is why you are a weatherman and I am not, because I literally have no idea how everything of that works. I just look into my app and see, well, it's not going to rain today, so I don't need a coat. So this is my connection to weather. So this is how you adjust and modify your weather. You just grab something and you just put it in there, and that is how easy it is. If you don't like the graphics for some reason, we will not judge you. You can just go in and import your own graphics for everything. You can adjust how the font looks. You can adjust how what the color of the font is, what font face to use, if you want a drop shadow or not. So everything is possible. And so if you want to go crazy with your weather, you can do that. And the same goes for the weather forecast. So you go in, weather forecast, enable it, and the setup of the weather forecast just works the same. Well, we are in Germany, so guess what? It's gonna rain all the time. You know what? Probably on Friday it's gonna snow because greetings from Germany. So that's the same thing. How it works for the weather forecast. If you need a 4-day forecast, 5-day forecast, you just create it right there. If you just want a 2-day forecast or just for the next day, you can also adjust this right here. If you like this, just let Achim know that this is the coolest weather layer we have ever seen. Seriously. So about this, I just don't know about the iOS device. I will retry. Something that is a little bit strange is that Photos is not coming up once I connect the phone. So let's see. For some reason, it just does not like me. So normally Photos should come up and show you all of the embarrassing photos I have there. And it should show you that I really don't understand this. It normally just works. For some reason, it does not today.
You want to try a different cable?
If you have one. Woo! Let's try a different cable. It looks so good. It looks brand new, the cable, but so let me just make sure that we are starting fresh here. Whoa.
So while Bastian is trying to assemble that, I can answer a couple more questions. Is mimoLive compatible with NDI device workflows? We are currently looking into that. And Bastian actually fixed the iOS demo, so
okay,
we're gonna do that
it was
in
the
a
cable.
second. It was the cable.
So you know what? So I just connected my iPhone here over the cable to the computer, and I'm now playing Bushido Bear, which seems to be a cool game apparently. And you can see I can. Ooh, there's still a guy that's threatening me. So, and I can. Okay, I'm kind of distracted here. So, well, I got my iOS devices in, and I could also just display them in the iOS device demo layer that we have. Let's how do we have it? Like this. Whoop. Let's add the main camera here. Okay, something is obviously still broken. So for some reason now we don't get the signal anymore. Maybe we need a third cable, but you got the idea. We will look into that again because something. Oh, now it works again. So let's turn off the placer. So.
For the latency questions, can you quickly show the mimo cam demo?
I can of course show the mimoCam. So we have an app out there that is not released yet, because Apple doesn't fully understand why this is an app that maybe makes sense for people. So there you go. So hello, this is the video coming in through the mimoCam, and I hope lip sync. So you see my mouth in two places. So lip sync should be somewhat identical. So you can actually use your iPhone or iOS device as a camera inside of mimoLive if you want to.
Fantastic.
Woo.
Okay. Will there be an API for us to build custom layers?
There has always been an API for to build custom layers. So if you let's see, if you go to the help menu, you will find the menu entry creating custom layers, and this shows the API that we have to build custom layers. You need to know Quartz Composer to do those. They are based on Quartz Composer, and you can still take every layer that we ship apart and, well, try it yourself. And this is something that has always been possible, and it still is possible, and the documentation is still valid and has been updated a little bit.
All right. So I think we covered a lot of the questions.
Yeah, we did.
Did we miss anything? Dear
That I
chat
don't
room. Can you show how to use templates?
Well, yes, of course I can. Well, right now there isn't much in there, so let's go to new, and let's choose a template. So you can, for example, download the Mimo News template from our site for free, and let's open it. And all I had to do was selecting the template. And if I want to create a new template, so for example, I don't want Stefan here, which is one of our engineers, by the way. So we don't just make the most beautiful software, we also have the most attractive developers at BoinxTV. So if I want to create a new template, I can do so if I want to, and just save a document as a template. So Mimo News without Stefan, and save it. And then like this, you create your own template. I don't want to save this because I already created the template, and now you will find your just brand new, newly created template in the template chooser of the new document window. And there it is without Stefan. Sorry about that, Stefan.
All right. Antoine, once the subscription expires, does it still work?
No. If mimoLive is not licensed, it's not gonna work. So we will remind you that the license runs out before it runs out, so you will be able to take care of that. So mimoLive needs an active license, an active subscription to work.
All right. More questions. Does mimoLive still support QuickTime cards?
QuickTime cards?
I think this refers to devices that use QuickTime to ingest video.
So we don't support QuickTime anymore. QuickTime has been deprecated by Apple quite a long time ago. So if the card just has a QuickTime bridge, it's not going to work in mimoLive. All relatively modern cards do provide either Core Media IO or AV Foundation drivers and will probably still work in mimoLive. If it is something that is very ancient that just works in QuickTime, I'm afraid we are not going to be able to support it anymore. QuickTime was one of the main reasons why BoinxTV couldn't go 64-bit, since QuickTime is 32-bit only. Just to be a little technical.
I lost the connection to this chat.
All hail to the Wi-Fi here.
Wi-Fi network botched. So I'm not seeing what the question was regarding video playback. But I think we can just demo how to playback a video.
Okay, so I need to add a media file first. I first have to look through my video files. This is going to be super embarrassing, I guess. Movies. Well, we want to have a little fun, so I will embarrass myself a little bit. So I have a video file. And the video file I can just drag in here and either play it full screen or for example, use a picture-in-picture layer to just play it in a part of the screen. Let's do this. So I will assign the video here. So let's play back the video. That is me in an iPod costume. Yeah, it is. I am sorry about that. And you can also, well, control how mimoLive handles the playback. So let's tell mimoLive down here to loop the video, and now enable it again. And there I am in an iPod costume. So this is how to get in video. You can add multiple videos there. You can play them full screen or play them picture in picture or in pretty much any layer that displays video information either from a camera or from a media file. I hope that answers the question.
Will there be a replay to watch the entire presentation?
Yes, there will be a replay. So right now we are streaming to YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube, and the great thing about streaming to YouTube is the moment you hit stop, the recording is there as a recording. It might take a second or a minute or two for YouTube to re-encode everything, but at this exact location where you are right now, you will be able to find this recording also.
Yeah, so are you planning to make an update to be back compatible with older cards?
As I said, it is not possible. We cannot bring QuickTime into mimoLive. This is not possible. And as I said, QuickTime, if the card does not do anything else but QuickTime, it is not going to work. QuickTime has been deprecated by Apple quite a while ago. So if the card does not work with modern frameworks like Core Media IO or AV Foundation, it is not going to work in mimoLive ever. Sorry about that.
I think the question that is behind that is, how do we support analog video sources? Like composite video. And
okay, well, for composite video, there are a couple of options to get in composite video. So, for example, all of the Blackmagic input devices also support analog video, either through a special cable or depending on what the input is, or for example the Ultra Studio or the Intensity Shuttle, they all do have input. Analog input. There are super inexpensive USB adapters. For analog standard definition video, you don't need USB 3. You can get, like, for about $20, you can get a USB grabber that gives you the analog video from a VCR, for example, or an older camera that still does analog video. So this is a possibility if getting in video from older sources into your computer. So
All right. Some questions I really don't understand. Is it possible to start video on cut? I think what this means is, can we put the endpoint of the can we add an endpoint to the video?
So if that is the question right now, mimoLive takes the video as it is. So if you want to trim a video, it is something you have to do in advance in an external editor.
All right, that sounds about right. Does the home version support 1080p?
So from a resolution standpoint, all of the versions are identical. Technically,
maybe you should say there is no home.
Well, there is no home version. There is the personal, the personal, education, commercial, and broadcast. So from a technical perspective, they are pretty much the same. The only main differentiator from a technical side is the ability to play out key and fill signals using SDI to an external switcher, and that is something only commercial and broadcast can do. In addition to that, commercial and broadcast also differ in the amounts of support and the level of support you get, and extras like coaching or individual custom layers that we provide to, for example, broadcast customers. So yes, the personal version does all of the bell and whistles minus the alpha output over SDI, because probably no one at home needs that.
A couple of interesting questions coming up. For YouTube Live, I know they need us to create new events every single time. Is mimoLive making this process easier? I think you could show how.
Well, so there are two. This is gonna be tricky now, because before you go to my screen, go to thank you very much. So let me quickly log into my Creator Studio. The problem here is, now if I show you this, you will be able to stream with my account. Okay, it is. You can go to my screen my screen now, because it actually is not shown. So that is pretty good. So the one thing that you have to do is create a new stream, new event, if you want this to be event driven. This is something mimoLive will not take care of, but YouTube also allows you to stream now. So that means you don't have to create events anymore. YouTube says this is still in beta, but trust me, this works just as good as the other version. So something you can always do is you can create the server URL you have here and the stream key that I will not reveal that right now, because that would mean everyone who sees the stream key can stream to my channel. If you take those two, you will always be able to just go live without configuring anything else in advance. So that is something you can do within YouTube now, just by going to your Creator Studio, go to live streaming and select stream now instead of the event process, how that goes. The downside of streaming now is that you cannot announce a URL in advance. You can still send your viewers to your channel though.
How much upload bandwidth do we have for this? Do we use for this?
For this very stream, or?
Yes.
So in this case, I think we use 2.5 or 3.5K. So 3,500 kilobits a second is what we are using right now, since we're sending 1080p to YouTube. That is what YouTube requires when you want to send 1080p. Otherwise, it will tell you that you are a bad person and you don't send enough data. So this is 3.5K. You can configure this in mimoLive though. So you can, if you want to send less, and if you're not streaming to YouTube and the endpoint does not care how much data you send it, you can also just configure it to send less. So you can even send 1.5K if you have a really thin connection, and you can also downsize streamed version compared to the recorded version. So you can still record 1080p onto your disk and then decide just to send 640 by 360 since you're streaming over a thin 3G connection, and you can just send a much lower resolution at a much lower bit rate to your streaming provider. So that is something you can set up in your streaming preferences if you want to. While Oliver is looking for a new question, I'll be back in a second. I need to take a sip. I will be back after I had something to drink. There I am.
How do I stream locally to another Mac or PC?
So as said before, you will still need a streaming server that runs locally. So what I have done here is I've installed Wowzer locally on my computer, so I'm able to send data to my local Wowzer server. So I can tell my local Wowzer server to I want to stream to it, localhost/live my stream. So what I can do now is I can connect to my local Wowzer server, and now I'm sending this locally inside of my computer. What I can give now over to other people in the same network is my Wowzer server address, and they can watch the stream there. The other option is to have a streaming server running locally in your network. Any streaming server, RTMP streaming server there is, can be running in your local network as well, and you can stream to it as well.
All right. It's about 1 hour 30 minutes. I think we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So thank you everyone for watching, and there are other people that I need to thank before we go, and this is our brilliant engineering team. Our engineering team, Achim, Peter, Benny, we also have to thank Max for that. We have to thank Thomas for that. We have to thank Douglas for that. So the engineers working on mimoLive, they did a fantastic job. We have a great application. I am so proud to be a part of this application because it is insanely great. And if you have tried it yourself, you will know that. And thanks everyone else in the company for creating great websites, creating great newsletters, and creating great stuff. And yeah, I can't tell you how happy we are to get this finally out to you. Try it yourself. Go to boinx.com, download everything, and try it out. If you have any questions, the next thanks goes out to our support team. They do a great job supporting our application. So if you have any questions, just email them. They will love to help you get started with everything. So try it out yourself, and thank you for giving us feedback, for using our stuff, and we will see you hopefully soon with an update to mimoLive or any other application that we have. Goodbye. And now it's time to say goodbye.